First of all, to the graduates and the families, the faculty and administration, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the students, and students, thank you for bringing your best efforts to this campus. I am extremely honored to speak to the Comprehensive Studies program. It's truly an honor. You are what I call an elite group of individuals, and this is a very special day. I was a student in CSP, when it was called the Coalition for Use of Learning Skills, back in the 70s. So I'm a product of what you are experiencing today. CULS, as we called it for short, because Comprehensive Use of Learning Skills is quite a mouthful, set expectations and a framework for my success. It gave me the backbone, and it gave me the platform for academic perseverance, frankly. It created a nurturing environment through their counselors and also through the relationships that I had with my fellow CULS students. This support prepared me for the challenges in my personal life and during my career path. I must say, compared to today, my college years back in the late 70s are nothing. They seem very simple compared to what you students have experienced the last several years. You have faced, and you're still facing, many external events and pressures like the pandemic, and who knows if it'll flare back up, gun violence, social and political polarization, and many other things that are critical issues for us to deal with today. With the support of CSP and other university resources, you have managed to also persevere academically despite these external pressures. So, this is a week of celebration for you and for your graduation. So the question is, what new do I have to offer you to this class that has endured many swirling events all around you? I did find some intelligence, some studies that helped me think about, what you're thinking about today. You're called the Gen Zs, and I come from baby boomers, and there are many decades in between us. And I know what I was thinking at the time of graduation, but there's so much more that you have to think about. So this study told me that 71% of Gen Zers are spending increasing amount of time evaluating their life priorities compared with 2 years ago. All of these heavy external events are causing many of you to reflect on what truly matters. According to the study, most of you believe your happiness is significantly correlated with feeling a sense of purpose and meaning, which means, trust me, that you are much more insightful than my generation was when I was sitting here graduating. I'm here to tell you, as a U of M grad armed with skills acquired through CSP, you should trust what you've acquired here. And those things will allow you to tackle the vast negative forces that are out in the world today and in the future. So let's kind of package all of that. And what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is the skill of resilience. And to hone in on that, the external forces and events going on in the world today can cause some internal disruptions that fundamentally impact why you got your degree and cause you to evaluate sometimes your life's priorities, as some of you seem to be doing according to that study. So here comes the point where usually in the commencement speech, there's, the speaker quotes someone that's much more brilliant than they are. Well, I'm not going to do that. I am going to share with you some personal stories around resilience And at the end of that, I'm going to give you a challenge. When something causes you to question your commitment, question your self-esteem, question your capability, or question your courage, I offer to you to take that as, frankly, a gift. Take the time to reflect. It may be the trigger you needed to alter some things in your life. It could be a heart-lifter that allows you to come back a much better person. And here's why. Each time someone or something causes you to evaluate your life priorities or reflect on what truly matters, you become armed with more knowledge about yourself. You have made more mistakes in the past, and those past mistakes and even your past successes will guide you. Embrace that and move forward. To do what? Move forward to become a much better version of you. Along the 4 decades since I left this campus, there are times when personal events or pointed words spoken by people directly influenced my life, caused me to question some things, caused me to question my commitment to my career, caused me to question my self-esteem, caused me to question whether I had the capability to do what I was doing, and caused me to question my courage to do something different. These disruptions threatened to steer me from my professionalism and the professionalism that I sought, because they weighed very heavy in my head and in my heart. So again, quickly, I'm going to tell you 4 very personal stories. And the first one involved a time when I questioned my commitment. So after I graduated from LS&A, I knew that urban planning graduate school was going to be my goal, so I packed up and I moved over to North Campus. Nothing much changed. Merely 1.5 years into the master's program, a professor criticized my group project and called me in individually to chastise me because of my level of participation in the group, insinuating that I caused my group's bad grade, which probably was true. I didn't. I responded by making excuses for my inferior work. He said 3 words to me that I distinctly remember today as I was sitting there making all kinds of excuses. He said, "You're copying out." And these words caused me to question my commitment to being an urban planner or to even being the best student that I could be. These words really messed with my head, and you can see it's messing with my head to today because I just distinctly remember them. That prompted me to ask myself, how much do I really want to get this degree if I'm only putting in a half-ass effort? I left the program a semester short of completing the master's degree. I made some changes and came back a better student by pursuing my MBA, which was something I really had a heartfelt interest in doing. I got a job at what is now known as Bank of America, analyzing mergers and acquisitions. That teacher's words, as cruel as they felt to me at that time, galvanized my commitment to a career in business, and after that, I was okay. The second story involves questioning my self-esteem. A few years later, living comfortably being a financial analyst, I was told by my spouse, "Let's end this marriage." These words made me question my self-esteem and frankly really broke my heart. Months later, I found myself divorced with a 5-year-old child, a disobedient dog, and living in Florida, thousands of miles away from my family in Michigan. I reflected on my sense of family and made some big and bold changes. I sold my home, I moved back to Michigan, by packing up my dog and my daughter in a car and drove in this two-seater Fiero, which you guys may not know what that car is. And we drove, and actually her little play school desk I tied on the top of the Fiero, and so we drove from Florida back to Michigan. And through my friends, I found an ideal job in the finance department at a large energy company. And within a reasonable amount of time, I have to say that, a reasonable amount of time, I remarried and had a second child. I expanded my career by getting a JD degree and a master's in law and corporate finance and became a corporate securities lawyer, doing deals all over the globe. And over the following 15 years, I steadily moved up the ranks to an officer level job at this Fortune 500 company. When I look back at the years following the divorce, I was able to see that I actually came back a much better person, personally and professionally. Now, my self-esteem was much more secure, and frankly, I was okay. So the third story involves questioning my capability. While working in this officer level job in the company, I discovered that for the second time, I was passed over for a promotion where clearly, and according to many people, I was the most qualified person for this step up to this job. When I sought some clarity on why not me for the second time, I was told by my boss to stop being so ambitious. These words caused me to question my capability. That messed with my head because I thought being ambitious, frankly, was supposed to be a good thing. What did I do? I observed that there was a glass ceiling at this company, evaluated my career priorities, and embarked upon making some changes. Without abandoning my ambitions, I found a new job in another state that elevated me not one level, but 2 levels, and reporting directly to the CEO of this company. This new employer reinforced my capability, and I came back as an even better executive leader. And I knew then, again, that I was going to be okay. Now, the fourth and final example is when my courage was questioned. After years of success in the corporate world and becoming a chief legal officer at a global Fortune 500 company, the company experienced a hostile takeover. As the chief legal officer, I had to oversee the legal work of some critical strategic plans and complex litigations that came out of that hostile takeover. After months of doing the work under a great deal of stress, and in all honesty, where I lost my hair, some of my hair, not all, but some of my hair, I spoke to my boss, the CEO. He was surprised because my resignation came during a very critical time for the company and for him as the corporate leader. Here I was, the leader of his legal department, leading the company. Ultimately, he said to me, okay, fine, you want to go. Just map out the terms of your exit, but if you do this, you must be gone by the end of the week. So his ultimatum was given to question my courage to abandon a prestigious, secure, high-paying career that frankly most people nearing retirement, as I was at that phase, would not dare to leave. I measured the risk to my physical and mental well-being of continuing in that job against the benefits of my personal happiness and my health. I chose my health over the job. At the end of that week, with a signed exit agreement in hand, I packed up my office and I literally, and I mean this is true, I literally moonwalked out of the company. And I'm sure somewhere on some camera, either the security guard or somebody captured that. I had no plans about what was next though. So I took several months to reflect and evaluate my life priorities. And during those months, I remembered the times when I internally struggled with my sense of commitment and my self-esteem and my capability. I thought about the vast number of past mistakes that only served to guide me. I thought about the 21-year-old me on graduation day who gained confidence through the skills learned in CULS and the chain of events in my life since then. I remembered the skills of resilience and perseverance, and that I had a chance to start all over again at 59 years old at that point. Instead of dwelling in an unhealthy place internally, I embraced the void I felt by leaving my executive career. Instead of questioning my courage, the CEO's words actually gave me a gift of courage. I knew then, again, I was going to be okay. I came back as a much better person with a renewed sense of purpose, focused on the biblical phrase, to whom much is given, much will be required. For me, that phrase included being an engaged University of Michigan alumni, giving back to this institution, and targeting my giving to CSP, the nucleus for my career path and my professional success. So class of 2023, whether you realize it or not, CSP has given you a gift. Through its resources, through this program, you have the gift of resilience to assure your success. I have no doubt that this class is poised to address the world's crises. Now, recall I mentioned that at the end I would give you a challenge. So here it is. I challenge you to remember this talk about taking care of your internal well-being, knowing that it may be buffeted along your career path. And here's another reason why I'm giving you this challenge, is because if you ask these students what the speaker talked about on their graduation day, they don't remember. So hopefully you'll remember this one. Also, just know, every day, like today, it is a chance to become a better version of yourself because of the lessons learned through your experience in CSP, and because you are now a graduate of the University of Michigan, a leader and best. CSP and this university has given you much, and now much is going to be required of you. I ask you, please stay engaged and don't forget to give back and go blue.